My name is Dave F. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a member of the New Beginnings group in Long Beach, which meets Friday night and Sunday night at 7:30. I'm currently, today's the 8th of September 2020. I'm currently the GSR for that group, and I'm also the Nassau County, New York General Service Archives Chair. And so I'm blessed to be able to do a little bit of service and to be able to talk today a little bit about recovery during a pandemic, during the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic of 2020. We'll see if it goes past 2020. It's still going on. And I'm going to talk about recovery, how we stay sober and carry the message, and also a little bit about service during the pandemic. So I think most of us became aware of COVID-19, the coronavirus, in around March or so of 2020. And, for a while there was just kind of a general vague awareness of this thing that was cropping up more in other parts of the world, mostly in China, and then soon after that in Europe, particularly Italy and Spain. At least that's my memory. And then as it became more prevalent and we started hearing about it in New York, hearing that it was occurring in New York, I hope I remember this correctly, but I remember that there was a period where there were no meetings. There was nothing. And we were without meetings. That was pretty brief. And what eventually evolved out of that and what grew out of that is, well, first of all, there are some meetings that have continued. I think it's been largely that there have been state regulations. There have been things that the governor of New York said to do, and the health powers that be said to do in New York, and things that we're supposed to abide by. And then there's also the facilities that meetings are held in, many of which closed. A few, though, particularly one church that I can think of in Long Beach, did not close. And that's a church that has many meetings in it. Several different groups meet at that church. And those meetings stayed open. People continued. That church has one particular meeting early in the morning that meets 365 days a year, 366 on leap year. And while the meeting wasn't really officially open, it was kind of an unspoken thing that some people were meeting there. People were going and they were having meetings. I can't really say much more about it than that, like officially. But there are people who are not. So let me back up. What evolved is that meetings began to be held in various virtual spaces. There already were meetings that were going on the telephone. You can Google phone meetings for AA, and you can find meetings, and that was before this pandemic. And I did a little bit of that myself, going to meetings when it was, it's very convenient, and I'm a little lazy, and so those continued. And what grew beyond, really grew, was meetings that were held virtually in video chats. And there's a particular video chat technology that's used, but AA has no affiliation with it, so it doesn't matter. I think that the particular there are lots of different ways you can do video chats, and there have been meetings in using several of those technologies. But there's one in particular that was used quite a bit, and continues to be used quite a bit, and that grew. And at least in my awareness, which is mostly Nassau County and a little bit southeast New York, Seney, there have been meetings held in those video chats. And the technology allows for one to raise one's hand virtually. You press a button and you find your name in the video chat, and you press a little blue hand, and that little blue hand becomes visible. So, and those became pretty ubiquitous. My meeting, New Beginnings, started meeting that way, has continued to meet that way, virtually, and most meetings that I'm aware of, not all. Some meetings did not continue at all. And then there are other meetings that popped up as meetings that are not officially sanctioned by AA, but were just kind of pop-up meetings. Some people said, let's have a meeting on this day or this time, and we'll worry about it being officially sanctioned later. We'll just meet and we'll help each other stay sober. So there was some of that. And it's gone pretty well. My higher power can facilitate this message and facilitate staying sober and grace using technology. It's another tool for my higher power to use and for this program to use. I feel for and people are getting sober this way. I do kind of feel for them. It was hard enough for most of us to get sober without a pandemic on top. But people are doing it. People are staying sober. As we speak, it's September 8th, and for the last, month or a little more than a month, some meetings have begun meeting in more meetings of those who, of the meetings that became completely virtual. Some have begun meeting in person, and I guess as sort of a bridge to that, and maybe an ongoing thing, some have become what they call hybrid meetings, which is a meeting that is physically occurring the way meetings always have, but is also occurring using this video chat technology or some sort of virtual technology at the same time. Now, I have seen some of these, and they're meetings. I've heard that it's somewhat challenging, technologically speaking, to have latency issues, which is a delay in the audio addressed. I don't know too much about that, but they're occurring. Also occurring is, and is the case in my group, New Beginnings, is that the meeting is occurring in person, and that separately, but at the same time, there is also a virtual meeting. I have not been going to physical meetings. I am doing virtual meetings. I have concerns about my health. So my home group, which meets Sunday nights, does have a physical meeting and also has a virtual meeting that is separate. And that's what I'm doing. Now, as to service, service has gone the same route that the rest of meetings have gone, in that, Nassau County General Service, which is where I do my group service, beyond the group itself, is following all suggested, public guidelines, and has been virtual and has been using video chat. So we have been, the Nassau County Chair, a General Service Chair, sends around emails with agendas and with reminders, and the meetings have been held virtually. I went on a Seney meeting, Southeast New York meeting, that had hundreds of people on it, and it was held virtually. And, we voted by raising our little technological hands, and people got to speak. The technology works that if whoever's moving on camera, that person generally is who is shown by the technology. So, and that's often the person who is speaking or conducting the meeting, or has the floor at the time. So AA has continued during the pandemic. It's changed but it has not. The root of it, carrying the message to the alcoholic who still suffers, has not changed. It's changed in the way it's delivered. It's you know phones weren't used right at the very beginning. Meetings were held in Bill's kitchen, and as technology grew, so did the way the message has been delivered, and that's the case during the pandemic. We're all staying sober, or most of us, and we're using the technology and means at hand to do that and to help the alcoholic who still suffers. So, thank you.